talk about real life, real work, and real faith. My name is Becca, and today I am talking to you about what I'm trying to teach my daughter, my preteen daughter, before the world does. What I'm trying to teach her about herself, about what's important before the world tells her what she is or who she is, or before it tries to tell her who she is. I want to make sure that I'm telling her who she is and who she is in Christ, and you know, her worth and everything before the world does. So before I hit record today, I actually earlier had I sat down with Cora and I asked her some questions just to get into the mind of a preteen. She's 9, so she's an early preteen. But I wanted to just do a little bit of a Q&A with her, and then I'll join you right back here in just a few minutes. So I'm here with Cora, and we're just going to have a quick little conversation. Cora, how old are you?
9, about to turn 10.
9, about to turn 10, so she is a preteen. And she's growing up into a very caring and nice and sweet girl. She's very smart. She's very active, very athletic, and we love that about her. So I've just got some questions for Cora that I would love for her to share her answers with. So what do you love most about yourself?
I'm a kind person.
You're a kind person? Yes, you are. You're very kind. What else?
Like my favorite states about myself, or
Whatever you think, however you want to interpret that. What's your favorite thing? What's your most favorite things about yourself?
my most favorite thing about myself is that I'm pretty smart, and I'm glad I can be smart.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So what makes somebody important? Not just yourself, but anybody. What makes somebody important?
Their style, their way of actions, and other
By way of
stuff.
actions, do you mean like how they behave, that kind of thing?
Yeah, they're their self no matter what.
Yep, that's good. That's good. Do you think everyone should be like you?
No.
No, why not?
Because you don't want to know, like, oh, I know what their favorite food is. I know what their favorite color is. You want to question people.
You want to be able to get to know them and have
Yeah.
conversations. If we were all the same, it'd be kind of dull, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you do you think God smiles about? It's kind of a tricky question. What do you think, if God's thinking about or looking at Cora, what do you think what makes him smile about you?
The way that I help people, the way I'm kind, and
Yeah. So these are all very bouncy questions all over the place.
make me confused.
Sorry. What makes a person beautiful?
Ooh, being them.
Being them?
Yeah, being their self.
So tell me more about that.
So they're beautiful in their own way. Like,
Okay.
if they feel down about, like, oh, I want to be like them, they shouldn't think that, because they're their own person and they're beautiful no matter what.
That's good. Do you think that beauty starts at how you look, or do you think it starts inside?
It starts inside.
Yeah. Because you could be the most beautiful person, but if you're hateful, that's not really beautiful, is it?
Nope.
So in regards to like being at school or at church or with friends or with family, what makes you feel like you belong?
Ooh. I feel like I belong if I'm like, what makes me feel belong is like, you're just throwing the hard ones out there.
Sorry. It's tricky, I know. It's hard to put it into words sometimes, like what makes you feel like you belong. Do you want me to give my answer and see if that helps you a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. So a lot of times I feel like I belong, especially when someone includes me and I don't have to ask to be included. I feel like I belong if people trust me enough to ask me to do things. Or I feel like I belong if I feel welcome, or if I feel like my presence around people isn't unwanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you would feel about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like whenever I'm like going to go play, like see if I could play jackpot, and if they don't want me to, I just go play with someone else. And
Yeah.
if they ask me to, I'd feel belonged.
Yeah, sometimes you have to be able to read the room. It's like get a sense of what everybody's feeling or thinking without them actually saying it. Sorry, I had to sneeze. And sometimes you just have to trust yourself and know, like, okay, this is a place I'm welcome, or I don't really feel welcome here. So how do you decide what's right and what's wrong? And let's say it's in regards to things you're going to do, actions you're going to take.
So I'd rethink my choice before I actually do it. I'd rethink it over and over again.
Yeah, that's good. Be very thoughtful about what you're doing. That's a good thing. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions about grown-ups. What do you think grown-ups make way harder than it should be?
Driving.
We make driving harder than it should
Yeah. Well, no, not driving. Well, like, trying not to make you mad.
be? You won't we'll just say, for the sake of the video, you won't make me mad about anything.
So after you're gonna ground me?
No, you're not going to be grounded for your answer.
Makes it harder than it seems?
Yeah, like parents make what too complicated?
Can I say this for the parents that are teachers?
Sure.
So, after they say we're gonna do this, and I know, and then they explain it, and then I forget completely.
So, like, sometimes we over-explain.
Yeah.
Grown-ups sometimes don't trust you to understand what we're talking
Yeah.
about. Like I say, hey, Cora, I need you to wash the dishes. You're going to have to open up the drawer, take things out, and blah, 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 blah. Like you
And then
said,
I
and
forget
you're
what to do.
thinking you could have just said, take care of the dishes, and I'd have done it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we over-explain things too much sometimes. Okay, all right, that's fair. What is something that you wish that adults knew?
I'm thinking. I have so many things in my mind I wish adults knew. I don't want to make you all mad on this
You're
one.
not going to make any of us mad, I promise. No hate notes in the comments.
No. I feel like. Wait, what was the question?
What is something you wish
Oh yeah.
grown-ups knew?
Like whenever someone is like having a bad day, then you just like know. That's what I want.
Like you wish that we knew just automatically that it was a bad day, or do you mean like you wish that we just knew automatically what was wrong?
Yeah.
Which one? Or
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
It would kind of be easier, like if we just knew what was wrong, because then maybe we would know how to fix it. Gosh, that would be nice if we had all the answers, huh?
Yeah.
That kind of shows you parents don't have all the answers. Grown-ups just don't have all the answers. So do you have any questions you'd like to ask me?
Mhm.
Okay, ask me a question.
Are any of us adopted?
No. What? No, none of you are adopted.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? What else?
Ooh, I have one. Why are we using duffel bags this year? Or whatever they are.
That's your life-altering question you want to share with the world. Why are we using duffel bags? Let me get this into context. We're about to go on vacation. And I usually let us use our suitcases, our hard-cased suitcases. But we drive there. And this year, I have said we're all using duffel bags as a way to save space so that we can take a few more things or so that our things fit a little more easily. So she loves using her hard case suitcase, but I'm making her use a duffel bag. She's fighting me tooth and nail on it, aren't you? Yeah, so
I have a few more questions.
that's okay, you've got more questions. Excellent. Okay, go ahead.
Why do we move out here?
Why do we move out here?
Yeah.
Okay, good, excellent question. I'm sure everyone wants to know. So we had lived in a very small town for a long time, my whole entire life almost, other than the first 4 or 5 years of it. And we built our home on our family farm, and it has been literally a lifelong dream of mine to build a house out here on our family farm. I remember, you can see back over here is a pond, but along this ridge, all the way down there, is the dam that you drive next to the water on. And I remember walking along that dam when I was about
8.
No, like 16 or 17, because I could drive. So I was out here at the farm. And I was walking out along that lane with my grandma. And I remember actually pointing to this specific spot, and I told her one day I would love to build a house out there. And that's just kind of always been what my heart wanted, was to build a house in the country and raise you guys out here at what we call the happiest place on earth.
Oh, but one last question.
Okay, one last question.
Why don't we get paid to go to school?
Why don't you get paid to go to school?
Yeah, because we're going there to learn, but coming back
Have you
to
ever
earn.
thought that it's a privilege to be able to go to school?
No, because you stay there for 7 hours.
Imagine, yeah, that's the schedule, but imagine being in a country or a part of the world where kids are not allowed to go to school, where girls are not allowed to go to school because they don't want children to be educated. Having education and having knowledge gives you a little bit of power to be able to think for yourselves. And some cultures or religions or governments don't want their people to think for themselves. Our country, all kids go to school. They require it because they see value in children being educated. They require it so that you can do the best for yourself as you grow up, and so that you have knowledge, so that one day you can be a good leader. And why don't they pay you to do it?
Yeah.
Because
why?
they pay the teachers to teach you. And if nothing else, we, the parents, through taxes or through school fees, we pay for you to go to school for the privilege of learning. There are some countries where little girls or children in general are not allowed to go to school, or they can only go to school if their family makes so much money and can afford to send them. Does that make a little more sense?
No.
No? Okay. Well, it's a good thought. No more questions?
Hold on, I'm still thinking one. Ooh,
Okay.
I have one.
Yep.
Why do people need like devices?
Oh,
That's
that's
my
a whole
question.
nother episode. We don't need devices. Devices have been fed into us that we need them, but it's all convenience. Because we didn't have these devices when I was your age. Cell phones were like that big, like a brick. You know, when I started driving, I had a cell phone that didn't have games. I lied. It had Snake.
You lied.
One game, Snake.
I love Snake.
Well, and when you texted, you didn't just have a keyboard. You had to hit all your number buttons so many times to get certain letters. You had to pay for every single individual text message.
That's stupid.
Technology advances and things get better, usually. All right, anything else?
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead. To the camera?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So, can I talk about why there's sin in the world?
I would love for you to talk about why there's sin in the world.
Yay. The reason why there is sin in the world is because before Adam and Eve sinned, it was all peace. And if they haven't ever sinned, it would all be fun, games, peace, and friendship, and no robbers, no broke people. Everyone would be happy, wealthy, and healthy. But whenever Adam and Eve sinned, Saul also followed their instructions.
Mm-hmm.
So Saul wanted Jesus dead, right? Or was it another one?
You're skipping some generations.
Oh yeah, I know. But
You're skipping some generations to get from Adam and Eve to Jesus here, sister.
I know. And when and Saul, the king Saul,
Mm-hmm.
he didn't like when he wanted to kill every single. He didn't want pastures, and one time
He didn't want what?
pastures.
Pastures?
No, preachers.
Pastors. Sorry, go ahead.
And so he had every single pastor, whatever it's called, I can't remember, priest, thrown in jail.
Okay.
And so that's why there's sin in the world. Because Adam and Eve.
That's a very high level view of it, but yes, yep. Adam and Eve were the first ones who sinned, huh?
Yep. And if they didn't sin, we'd all be okay and everything would
Yeah,
be
but
fine.
even with sin in the world, are we still okay?
Yeah.
Why?
Because we have Jesus and he died on the cross for us.
Yeah, there we go. So we're good. Well, thanks for joining me, Cora.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
So that was my conversation with Cora. She's as sweet as pie, and I love her more than life itself. The most important thing that I hope she knows as she grows, and you heard all of her answers, and I did not give her any warning. I didn't give her any prep time or any practice time. So what you got were very real, raw, unfiltered answers. But you know, what we try to teach her above all, the most important thing for our lives is that we have a relationship with the Lord. That, you know, you take away all the stuff in life, all the people, all the relationships, all the activities, all the things, all the hobbies, everything, take all that away. None of it matters at the end of the day. What matters as a parent for me is that my children all have a relationship with the Lord, and they have a good relationship with the Lord. Because when all is said and done, again, if I've not helped train them up to value a relationship with the Lord, for me, what else, what have I done? Kind of a thing. You know, the world, we only get so many years with our children, especially our girls. And just as a preface for this whole conversation, I'm talking about my preteen daughter. I'm not going to talk about my teenage boys. Raising boys and girls is quite different. Having a preteen versus, you know, teenagers, they're in very different stages of life. So what I'm talking about today is all going to be applied to my daughter, my relationship with my preteen daughter. So, you know, we only get so much time with our kids, and the world is going to do everything it can to tell them who they are, to tell them who they should be. It's going to tell them, you know, who they ought to be or who they should be okay with being. You know, there's this whole idea of I am enough. You know, you're fine just the way you are. You were born you were born certain ways or whatever. And so you just need to embrace what you think and what you feel. And that's not always the case. And, you know, especially with my daughter being so young, we haven't come across a whole lot of identity issues or anything just yet. But I'm trying to get ahead of the game and try to get ahead of the world so that as early as possible, she has a strong foundation and a strong sense and understanding of who she is and who she's meant to be. This whole I am enough culture, it's rooted in good motives. It's rooted in, especially for, the like trying to relate to people with severe depression. Yes, you are enough. You deserve to be on this world. You deserve to have a happy life. You deserve everything. But we have to be careful when we're using language like I'm enough for myself. Because as a believer, we're not enough. We are not called by God to go through this life thinking we can handle ourselves and to have this independence and that we make our own destiny and that we can just manifest things. And that we need God. We have to remember and we have to remind our kids, you're perfect the way you are, the way God made you, as long as you've got a good relationship with the Lord. Because if we think we're enough and that we don't need him, then as believers, we have to question, okay, well, if we're enough and we don't need him in our everyday lives, and we don't need him in order to make things happen, or we can make things happen on our own, then what was the point of him dying on the cross? Like what was the point of the whole Bible, all those things happening if we didn't need him? It's hard when they're, Cora's 9. It's hard when they're young to, really get into the deep stuff. But there's, it's important to, when we're parenting and we're walking our kids through certain situations, to make sure we're always keeping that in mind. Always keep in mind how we're teaching our children to respond to other children in mind. We're all born of flesh. We all have these natural desires to make sure our kid comes out on top by whatever means possible. And that could be in success or in friendships, or maybe there's conflict and you want your kid to win. And there's, every minute of every day, the world is going to tell your kid who they need to be. That's why it's important for us as parents to help guide them into the kind of person they should be. God is the one who defines who they are. God decides what's in their future. God created them, and he did create them perfectly. He has a plan for their life. With the world being so loud, how, we have to figure out how to be louder. And I'm not talking about, literally vocally louder. But what, especially for a teenage girl, everything is taken to heart. Girls take everything with no grain of salt. They take things literally. They take things, if you say it, you must mean it. And we're emotionally driven. Women are emotionally driven, and that does not just start at adulthood. That very obviously, for anybody who has a daughter or who has been a teenage girl, that everything that we do and everything we think about ourselves oftentimes is emotionally driven. It's driven out of our feelings. A lot of times if you think you don't look good enough, a lot of times it's because you've either compared yourself to somebody else or because someone has told you you don't look the way that you should. You're not the slimmest. You don't have the prettiest hair. You don't have the coolest clothes. And then we internalize that, and then it's hard to not compound those things with our self-worth. And especially as a girl, when a flaw is pointed out, it's going to dilute every other good thing that they've heard about themselves. Take into, you can think of anything I could do an hour-long video, and I have good points. I've got good references to the word, and I'll stutter one too many times, and I'm like, that 4-second clip right there where I couldn't get my words out, the devil will get in my brain and I will focus on the one thing. Forget the whole other, 55 minutes of the video. The smaller portion, the one little negative, that stuff just eats at us. And it, of course, it's not going to be videos for everybody. It's going to be, your whole outfit looked great, but it was a little snug. Or, you sang beautifully at church, but I saw when you missed that line, or, you missed that note. It's easy to have a tendency to look at what you don't have or what you've gotten wrong and forget everything that you do have and that you have right. So as teenagers, preteens, again, I have a preteen daughter, it's important to make sure that we're always reinforcing as much as we can the positive, always reinforcing. And it doesn't have to be, you don't want to get in the habit of making a girl think that the only good things are her looks. But girls think about these things, so you do have to talk about that kind of thing. So it's, always complimenting. It's always making sure you're pointing out in truth the things that are good, the things that are great, the things that they're doing well at, the things they've gotten right. And when things aren't gotten right all the time, when things haven't been gotten right, or if they've missed something or something doesn't look great, it's handling those things with grace. I'm not a parenting expert. You can take everything I say with a great big grain of salt, but I'm trying to just share how I approach my daughter. I don't want the world telling her if she's good enough based on anything. So in every aspect of her life, I'm trying to reiterate to her what she's doing well, what she's gotten right, what God has blessed her with, reminding her of the things that she's good at and that sort of thing. As parents, you cultivate these relationships with your kids early on, and it's important to do it from early on, because then otherwise later, you don't want to, if you haven't been and you have an older teen, still start doing it. Don't not do it because of what I'm about to say. But the earlier you start building that rapport with your child who is a preteen or an older, younger kid, you can start building that rapport with them of, oh, my mom's going to tell me when something honestly isn't the best, or she's going to tell me when something is the best. And if you have that healthy balance, they're going to be more likely to believe you, and then you build that trust with them. They're going to believe you more than what they believe from the world. And it's never going to be 100% that they disregard all the negative that the world has. That's impossible. It's, again, we're all, made of flesh. We all want to be seen a certain way by, everybody in our life, or even people that aren't in our life. But just, you want to build up those relationships. And just to touch back on some of the things that we were talking about with Cora, you could see a lot of her responses were very much feeling driven. The ones that I didn't have to help her out with, they're very surface level at this point, but they're all indicative of things that she's gone through, things that she's thought of, or, and I didn't preface, she did not have any preparation time, and that was intentional. But maybe go through a Q&A with your preteen if you have one, and take the same questions, just see what their answers are. It's enlightening to see where their mindset is. But you also start to realize some of these questions are things that we as adults think about all the time. And these kids have thought about these kinds of things too. So it's just all the more reason to be a good sound voice in their head from an early age. So what else am I trying to teach my daughter before the world does? I am trying to teach her that she doesn't have to be what the world expects of her. I am trying to teach her that her relationship with the Lord is the most important above anything else in her life. Academics are important, and there's a time and a place for everything to be acknowledged as what needs to be a priority. But above all, more high level, I'm trying to teach her that the Lord is the most important relationship in her life, and that the Lord loves her, and that the Lord values her. The Lord sees her as beautiful. The Lord sees her as talented and called into this world to do His work, to show His love. I want her to know that no matter what we get wrong, it's never enough to take us from God. I'm trying to teach her that, being a good person goes beyond what you can do for others, but more so how your character is, how you treat others. You know, with Cora, one thing that she, and I think every little girl goes through this every now and then, is she might come home and say, well, no one really talked to me today. And I'm like, okay, well, did you talk to anybody else? And we go back and forth. And, you know, when it comes down to it, a lot of times she just gets in her own head a little bit, that it's not that someone didn't include her. They may not have known she wanted to be included because she sat off on the wall, that kind of thing. I'm trying to teach her to have a little bit of confidence in that kind of stuff. But I don't want to make her feel like she should strive to fit in every circle. That's not what we're called to do. But trying to help her identify when she's in her own head about insecurities or in her own head about situations. Because I know, and you know, kids can be mean. Kids have a way of really sticking it to you. I you know, as a personal story, and I'm not going to name names, I doubt they even watch this, but if they do, they probably won't even remember it. I remember being in 6th grade, and it's the year that we had 2 elementary schools in our district, and you merge into 1 middle school. So we had one town kids and another town kids. So the meshing of these schools into one large grade level, it's new, it's scary. My boys have already gone through it. Cora's going to go through it in a few years. But I remember walking down the hall, and I remember one of the girls from the other school. They were walking with a group. There was 3 of them, and I could tell you exactly where I was in the hallway when this happened. I could tell you exactly who it was, and I could tell you exactly who laughed about it. But I remember one girl made a very snide comment about me, confirming my name and relating it to that I was not a skinny kid. We'll just put it that way. They pretty much backhandedly called me fat, and I was like, okay. And I didn't retaliate. I didn't say anything back. I didn't cry. I mean, it was 6th grade. It hurt my feelings, but clearly I'm now 40 and I still remember this plain as day, because the things that kids say matters. The things that kids say and the way they make you feel particularly is what matters. And I'm trying to teach my daughter, you know, just be the kind of person that feeds life into other people, not doubt, not fear, not insecurity. Try, you know, anytime that, so I was saying how, you know, if Cora feels like she hadn't felt like anybody wanted to do anything, sometimes I ask her, well, did you ask them? Were you the kind of friend that someone else might have needed? If somebody wasn't the kind of friend you needed, were you being the kind of friend that someone else might have needed? And that's one way that I try to help, you know, just shape her mindset. And not that you have to ignore when kids are intentionally leaving others out and that sort of thing. There's a time and place, again, for everything. I probably do a lot more backpedaling on what I say and explaining that I need to, but you get it. How kids say things and approach other kids and how they treat other kids matters. And as long as you're teaching your kid, you know, my mom and dad, I had really good self-confidence no matter what I looked like. I never felt bad about myself. I was never insecure. Words still hurt, but as an individual, I didn't obsess over a lot of things that teenage girls obsessed about. I was just confident in who I was and secure. But had I not been, that could have really messed up some weeks. And you might think, well, maybe Becca, it did because you still remember it. Maybe I still remember it just because I remember the feeling. And when I see those people, that's what I associate it with. Some of them I see on a regular basis now because our kids are in similar grades, and I'm like, okay. And they're friendly, and I'm friendly back, and it's okay. But you know, you always remember those kinds of things. So that's why it's important. I'm teaching my daughter to be a kinder person, to be the friend that other people need. It's not always easy. It's not always easy, you know. And as a mom, you also want them to be able to stand up for themselves, and there is a time and place for that. But as far as character goes, I'm trying to teach her the kind of person she needs to be for this world. Before the world tells her that she needs to be independent and tough and mean back to people. A lot of people will say, I'm just being honest after they say something cruel or hurtful, even if it is the truth, but the way they've told you about it is just terrible. There's a way to do everything that can still bring glory to God, that's still truthful. So I say all of that just to, give you a little glimpse into the mind of Cora, into the mind of my preteen daughter. Very high level touch on what I'm trying to instill in her as a human being, as a girl who's growing and maturing. Have those conversations with your kids. Make sure that you're pouring into them more than the world is pouring into them. If that means you have to protect them from social media, so be it. Do it at all costs. If that means that you have to pay attention to who they're spending time with or who they're hanging out with, always, so be it. Do it. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I wanted to give you guys a glimpse into what it is for me, for my teenage daughter, how I'm trying to handle things. And we'll touch base again with Cora in the future and see how she's grown and see how things are going. And, until then, just approach your parenting, how, pray to God about how your parenting style should be. But always make sure that you're pouring into your kids, especially those preteen girls. They need a solid, steady voice that they go home to, that they can hear in their mind when they're not at home, when the world comes at them and the world challenges them and the world tries to tell them something about themselves that's not true. So that's all I had for this week. Again, just a little short look. Probably sounded a little jumbled. I'm kind of all over the place today, but Cora has been dying to get on a video, so I wanted to include her and give her a chance to talk. And I thought this would be a really good way to get a look into her that was just a little lighter, but still be able to tie in some meaningful content for you. I'm hoping to get in a little bit deeper and a little bit more structured in the future on parenting a preteen girl in today's world. So we'll get into that. In a couple weeks, I'll be out of town, so I'm trying to prepare something in advance for that. I hope to not have any interruptions there as far as content being put out there. Maybe I'll even do one from the beach and you'll get to enjoy that. So anyways, have a great week. Be there for your kids. Don't forget to be there for yourself. And I will see you next time on Rooted in the Middle.